Which of these would you rather have on your Quidditch team? A Muggle, Hagrid, or Dumbledore?
Is it the one that looks like Julius Caesar who's about to be sick in a bucket?
I don't know which one that is.
On the left.
Oh, see, yes, it does. I think that's Dudley, is it?
Yeah.
The point is, in a lot of J.K. Rowling's work, the words are real, and Dumbledore is a real English word, as is Hagrid, as is Muggle. And I want you to tell me what they really mean.
Dumbledore's going to be some sort of a term for a village idiot, I think.
Well, funnily enough, yes, it became that. In Thomas Hardy's Under the Greenwood Tree, it means a slow simpleton. It's used as a bit of a Dumbledore, but actually it has an original earlier meaning, yeah?
Is there not a Hagrid reference in one of the Thomas Hardy books?
There may well be.
I don't know, one of the Thomas Hardy books. I don't know which
I've
one.
read, I mean, I've seen
sure
the longer form, Hagridden, I've seen many times, but start with...
Monster-like.
Start with Muggle. Do you know where the word Muggle might first have been
Sounds
used?
like some sort of woodland creature or something furry.
Actually, it's an American Jazz Age word. It's a drug.
It's a marijuana.
Marijuana is the right answer. Muggle was a word for marijuana, for cannabis, and indeed more particularly for people who smoked it. They were muggles.
Really?
People who smoked marijuana were called muggles.
That's hilarious.
But what's the next word, then? We've got Hagrid, which is used in Thomas Hardy, you're right, in the Mayor of
I've seen it in the longer form, Hagridden.
Yes, Hagridden. Very good.
Try that.
Clever of you.
It means... Hagridden. It means a bony old horse.
It's a mare.
It's a nightmare.
Yes.
It's a nightmare involving a horse. No.
Was there somebody chasing through?
If you had bad dreams, you were said to be hag-ridden.
Oh, that's great.
That your witches had come to you in the night. You were hag-ridden.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, to be Hagrid.
Is that a drunk person not finding the toilet?
Well, it's a... since records began... That's horrible. When people sleep...
They'll feel terrible when they wake up.
That's a relationship that's not going to survive, isn't it?
When people sleep badly these days, they think they've been probed by aliens, but before the idea of aliens came, it was goblins and witches and demons and hags. And that's what Hagridden means.
What's the horse doing?
That's the nightmare.
He's operating the video.
Very good.
With his big hooves.
So that leaves us with Dumbledore, which, as you say, has been used to mean a slight simpleton. There's the Great Gambon. But it had an earlier meaning, and the first half of it...
Dumble.
Dumble. Think of a rhyming word for dumble.
Jumble.
Mumble, mumble, crumble.
Mumble.
Not mumble.
Mumble.
Bumble.
Yes.
Bumblebee. It's a type of bee.
It is a bumblebee.
I've redeemed myself.
Yeah, there were different ways of saying it. A door means a humming insect in Old English. So a Dumbledore was a bumblebee.
That's great.
That's what the word means. It's rather nice.
Wow. That's great.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Pleasing.
I can't believe I didn't know it.
Yeah.
I'm really annoyed.
There you
I missed out on more precious points.
It's hard to hang on to a hagfish. There's a hagfish. Yes.
It releases mucus
The
to
hagfish.
defend itself,
It does,
which works in real life. If anybody ever comes at me, I just sneeze at them and they're backing off.
But I don't think you could produce the kind of slime that a hagfish
You don't
could
know
produce.
me. I'm very young and fertile.
Would you like to see? Have a look at a hagfish releasing slime and tell me you could produce as much. Here's someone manipulating it. That is producing that. It can turn a bucket of 20 litres of water into slime
That's a
in minutes.
Great party piece.
Isn't it?
I actually think my baby daughter might be a hagfish. Yeah, because that's nothing. to be honest with you, I've got that on my trousers every morning.
It also can tie itself into knots, which is another impressive thing. It literally does a slip knot or an overhand knot. It's quite bizarre.
Given the choice, if I had to have special powers, I'd like to be bitten by one of them. Because excreting mucus would be... You know, because like Spider-Man, he's all very well, do a bit of climbing and that.
Slime
but imagine
boy.
if you just sat in a chair and somebody went, do your thing, and you went... It would be fantastic. It'd be brilliant. Because if somebody tried to get you in a headlock, you just go...
That's exactly it. That's what it does.
Yeah, Ross, superheroes are meant to help people. How would you help people with this mucus? You know, like Spider-Man helps people. How would you help people with this mucus?
Oh, there's a child who's got his head in the railings.
Yeah, that's a really good comic book story, isn't it?
This gravy is unnecessarily runny.
Hagfish are hard to hold because they tie themselves in a knot and ooze slime in all directions. I before E, fingers on buzzers, accepting after...
Please.
C.
No, that just isn't a rule. Why isn't it a rule?
Because of
words where
words where it's not.
Yeah.
E becomes
Because of the
before I have to
exceptions
C.
Because there are more exceptions to the rule than the rule itself, by quite a long way.
Who's counted?
Ceiling.
They've been counted. Would you like to
Ceiling
know?
one.
God.
Yeah, there are 923 English words that have a C-I-E in them.
Do we have to name them all?
No. you're let off, but name
Happy
some.
New Year.
Ceiling.
No, that's C-E-I.
C, yeah, that's what you said.
No. The rule, the supposed rule is...
except after C.
But I'm saying, in
ceiling.
fact, there are 923 which break that rule.
Receive, receipt.
So hang on, if it's I before C, E except after C,
Yeah.
we're looking for words where E follows C, aren't we?
No. No. The rule is it should be C-E-I, according to that.
See,
Yeah.
Oh, but you're saying it's wrong.
There are 923
I know
examples.
one, which it isn't.
Yeah.
Ceiling, that's not one. Ceiling isn't one. Ceiling isn't one of the ones you're looking for.
Yes, I want the ones I am looking
That's
for.
right. So I will repeat my answer and I say not
Lee,
ceiling.
I'm looking for the ones I'm looking for.
You're looking for the ones you're looking for.
So give me a C-I-E.
Ceiling?
I may explode at any minute.
C-I-E.
Receipt is CIE.
Yeah, those are the ones that conform to the rule.
Okay, the rule is looking pretty good right now, because...
Glacier. Species.
yes, but now I know them, and I didn't think I knew any.
Yeah. The point is there are lots and lots and lots.
923 words.
These are ones with EI without the C in front, obviously, as well as the CIE, concierge.
Oh, you don't even have to have a C in
That's
it
the
now.
end. No, they're EI. Are you incapable of rational thought? You cannot be that stupid.
You've really...
You cannot be that...
Stephen, can I just say, you really are going to have to work on your Bruce Forsyth. Are you really capable of rational thought? I mean, really?
This is not
I tell you.
This is
Are you a
QI.
human being? I don't think you are.
No. Work it out.
These words don't count. They're not even English words.
Well...
You can't have hacienda and concierge.
Yeah, but there are... The point is there are 21 times as many words that break the rule than don't.
However, if you want to spell ceiling...
If you want to spell C,
or receipt.
or
I before E,
conceit, or
except after
deceit.
C.
Yeah. But if you want to spell veil and weird,
Yeah, but there's no
no
C in them.
no. It's I before E every time, except after C. But in weir, that's the
Oh, I
point.
see.
Yeah.
They're exactly...
I see.
cannot be that stupid!
What? He said it and you're looking at me. Do I get the blame for his stupidity? I've got my own, thank you.
Wow!
Daniel, you're the only person on this show who isn't a complete idiot.
Why shouldn't you crack your knuckles?
Oh.
Is there lasting damage? Can you do lasting damage on the bone? Oh.
Oh, you just did it.
Oh, no.
Problems?
There's a but I think it's an old wives' tale that actually, if you do that, it causes arthritis. Yeah. Because there was a famous doctor called Dr. Unger who believed that it did, and for 50 years, this doctor every day cracked the knuckles on his left hand and didn't on his right.
Well, but the story
And
is that his mother, when he was very young, he cracked the knuckles on both hands. And his mother said, "You do that, honey, you'll get arthritis." And he thought, well, being of a scientific turn of mind already as a child, he thought, I will test this by only doing it on the fingers of my left hand.
arthritis, and I'll show you how.
Exactly. So he did it on his left hand only, and for 60 years he cracked it. And then he had various tests, and there was no suggestion of arthritis on the left hand more than the right.
So you can crack
and
your
he
knuckle.
apparently shouted up, "You were wrong, mother, you were wrong."
Oh.
I wasted my life.
You were wrong, man, you were wrong.
When did slavery become a criminal offence in England? It
I
was
bet
not
it
in
was
the
one of
19th
these
century.
odd little new labour laws in about 1996, 7, 8.
What an odd law to outlaw slavery. Is political correctness gone mad?
bit odd in the sense that it's a bit late.
Yes, that's exactly right. It was 1807 when the slave
1807
trade
was
was
the first
ended, and then finally in 1834 it was illegal anywhere in the British Empire to own a slave. It has never been illegal to have a slave in England until April 2010. I'm saying I could have had you as a slave
You mean
legally.
You mean this series I'm finally free?
Yes!
But you know what? I mean, one of those slaves who just goes back to the master. I don't know what to do. I work for you anyway, please.
I'll tell you one thing is that there are now estimated to be 27 million people held in, essentially in bondage, in slavery on this planet.
But the show will be over soon.
More,
You can go.
Yeah.
Right now?
More than there ever were in the days of cotton picking and so on.
27 million?
27 million.
In the
yeah.
world?
Yeah, that is the estimate. It's pretty grim problem still, slavery. The point is, it was never illegal in England because it was never recognised as a state of being.
Oh, there's all
There was
kinds
no
of...
such-
I wish I'd known that.
There were laws against kidnapping and abduction and false imprisonment and sexual trafficking and all the other things that we might associate with slavery. But it was not illegal for one human to own another human, which it now is.
So this is a law that... This isn't one of those laws where they thought, oh, that needs clearing up. It's a loose end from history.
It kind of was. In 1967, there were a number of obsolete crimes that were taken care of. Barratry had been illegal right up to 1967, which is vexatious lawsuits.
Oh,
okay.
Building of
Vexatious.
Yeah, what they call a vexatious litigant. Somebody just keeps...
Dorothy Squires.
Yes.
Dorothy Squires, the singer Dorothy Squires, towards the end of her life, when she did have a mania, but she was probably the last person to be done for vexatious litigants.
And if you kept prosecuting someone for it, you'd be prosecuting them.
Yourself?
Yeah, well, it's completely... Anyway, there's scolding. Scolding was a crime in 1966, but not in 1967.
With hot water, you mean?
No, not scalding. Scalding. Scalding!
That was a crime.
You! What time of the night do you call this, Eddie Izzard?
12.
Yes.
12:30 or something.
Well, I'll give you a good scolding.
And that was illegal?
That was illegal.
Illegal?
Yeah.
And now it's legal?
Eavesdropping was illegal. Challenging someone to a fight was also illegal until 1967.
What about going round and round and roundabout more than 3 times?
It certainly wouldn't have been a medieval law, would it?
Well, I don't know. And if you're in a horse and cart and you have a couple of hours spare...
On a medieval roundabout.
On a medieval roundabout.
Yes. Anyway, there you are. Due to a quirk of English law, it only became a criminal offence to keep a slave in the year 2000. Oh, the humanity. It's time for general ignorance, so fingers on buzzers, if you please. Name the fastest human runner of all time.
Now.
I'm going to go Usain Bolt.
What? He is?
Well, he is. Did you not watch it? It was on telly. He's called Bolt, for God's sake. What more do you want?
The argument for him being one of the fastest is strong, but...
It's him winning and being the fastest.
He won that race.
He won that race, yes.
But humans...
you think you're faster, too?
No, I don't. I think T8 was faster.
T8?
T8.
Who's that?
It's a fossilised footprint in Australia of an Aboriginal people. And you can tell from the strides that they ran really fast.
What were they running from?
The white man.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, good reason to. Usain Bolt can reach 27 miles per hour for a second
Which is very, very impressive. But again, rabbits run at 35 miles an hour, and that's much more exciting.
It is not as fast as a rabbit.
It's not as fast as Jimmy Carr when it's his round.
20,000 years ago, on the Gold Coast, they discovered these footprints. One of the males was running at 23 miles per hour, but, all right, so Usain Bolt can travel 27 on a running track with spiked shoes, whereas T8 was in mud, barefoot, and was accelerating. We don't know how much faster he got. It seems likely that he was faster than Bolt, and anyway, it's quite likely also that he wasn't the fastest of his 150,000-strong tribe. So anthropologists believe that he could have gone up to about 28 miles.
In fairness, Usain Bolt wasn't being chased by a lion, was he?
There is also that, yeah, that's
For all
true.
we know, he could have been like a fat bloke who was about 45. And all the others were really fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing like 48 miles an hour. How do they actually tell? Is it the stride length?
I think it is. I mean, it's, stride length, depth of impress. You can be pretty accurate about it.
Maybe they just had a rock in the shape of a foot and they did it for a laugh.
Maybe. On your way there, though, how would you spot a Neanderthal if you saw one on a bus?
He'd be the one who comes and sits next to me. Nearly always. Yeah.
He's the one already sitting next to me because I'm married to him.
This is going to be the humiliate my husband show.
Yeah, he doesn't watch this. It's all right.
Oh, fine, OK.
He doesn't really understand it.
Is he the one looking at the wheels going, what the hell?
Has they got the lump and great forehead, or is that the Cro-Magnon?
Well, the point is, actually, we'd be very hard put to tell the difference
exactly
if they wore a T-shirt. Admittedly, you'd say, well, it's an unusual looking
That's
person.
our producer.
Yes, but if you imagine... if, and I dream of it, we shaved and dressed our producer one day, popped her on a bus... she might look like a normal person. That's, the point is that they...
So far, we haven't.
No, we've not managed that yet.
He looks like...
Is that a model?
That's a model of how they might look. Unfortunately, we think of them as incredibly stupid, but they had religious rites, they buried their dead, they made ornaments. At one point, we were one species that diverged, and these two branches of humanity lived in Europe. In fact, Neanderthals lived in Europe for 4 times longer than we ever have. They had a long period of living there.
And did we cross over?
We did cross over, and no one quite knows why they went extinct, whether we bullied them, whether we outsmarted them. They were stronger than us.
Right.
We invented the bus, though.
We did They didn't invent the bus. You can't get on that one. But about 1 to 4% of our DNA is Neanderthal, so we crossbred.
So were there ever, for instance, Homo sapiens who married Neanderthals? You imagine a wedding like that?
Yeah.
It's going to be a punch-up in a car park.
Yeah. Go to Basildon any Saturday night.
I'm glad you said that. Sorry. No, I just want to tour again one day.
Resident of Norfolk.
Yeah. But no, the fact is, yes, you're right. I mean, there was interbreeding. And there are many theories. Some think that we, Homo sapiens, as it were, kept Neanderthal girls as sex slaves, but it's very possible it's the other way around, because they were stronger than us. But certainly there was a lot of interbreeding, but for some reason they died out.
Probably the first genocide, first of many that we proudly executed over the many centuries.
Maybe we just teased them to death. Maybe they couldn't take it anymore.
Wonderful.
I know I'm ugly and stupid.
So politically incorrect.
Oh, I can run fast. Oh, you're really good.
Why are they called Neanderthal?
Is it an anagram?
Probably is. Anagram of leather dant.
Leather dant. Leather dant.
But no.
That's a period in time, isn't it?
No, it's not actually. It's just simply a valley near Dusseldorf in Germany where they were found Neanderthal. There were many other. Can you name other species?
I do like the idea, though, of having
Homo
another
australis.
species of human that is just a little bit stupid, but, you know, friendly, and lived with us and were quite happy just to do all the jobs and stuff for us.
Well, it's Brave New World, isn't it? Exactly. The
I like the
gammas.
idea of it, I have to say. I mean, I'm not a nutter or anything.
No.
But I like the idea of... Who wouldn't mind, either? They'd be very simple
and could be your sex slave.
Obliging.
Yep,
Yeah.
Can we go back to the picture of the man that looks like a gnome?
Oh, yes.
Where's
the producer.
Yeah, I don't really fancy that as a sex slave, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not being overly fussy, I just think...
Yes.
Bearing in mind, though, Jimmy, this is before the invention of electric light. You know, it's gloomy.
Yeah.
Be in a cave.
It's cold.
You be in a cave, it's cold.
Have a few beers, you'd be fine.
He's quite a friendly-looking bloke, isn't he, really? For a Neanderthal?
Yes, definitely. But if you gave him, and when I say him, I mean a Neanderthal man, a tracksuit and a haircut, he would attract no more attention than any of the other nutters. When might you engage in paradoxical undressing?
So you're undressing, but you're actually dressing.
No, it's not really paradoxical.
Is it physics or some physics or mathematics?
No.
Is it counterintuitive undressing?
That's much more what it is.
So taking your clothes off if Jeremy Clarkson asks you would be...
Meow.
Would be silly.
It's taking your clothes off when taking your clothes off looks like the worst possible idea you could have.
Is it some effect of hypothermia? Is it some mental thing that does to you?
It may be mental, it may be physical. It's not quite understood, but one of the...
Oh, that is very unpleasant.
Yeah.
Can we go back to the previous picture?
Yeah, it's one of the peculiar side effects of hypothermia. When you're actually dying of cold,
you feel
hot. Almost the last thing you do, very commonly, not always, is take all your clothes off. And people think it may be a delusional thing, but it also is part of the fact that your blood vessels near your skin tend to just give up and open. And it may be that people feel very hot. Because you never survive once you've got to that stage, you can't actually ask someone why they did it. But it is a common thing for people to do, and they're
I went
freezing.
in freezing water once in New Zealand, and I screamed a lot and swam about a bit, and then I got out and I was completely shocking, livid pink, and felt hot. So that was perhaps seconds from death then.
Maybe you were. Maybe you're one of the few who survived it.
Yeah.
Well, what sort of temperature do you think would start you on the road to hypothermia? Body temperature, I don't mean outside temperature.
What's the temperature in here?
I'd say pretty quickly. I don't think you'd have to drop much. Maybe 4 or 5 degrees below normal body
Basically, that's right, 35 degrees Celsius, once your body temperature starts to get below that. And interestingly, in the coldest cities in the world, hypothermia is very rare. It's much more common in places like Britain, where it doesn't get very cold at all. There's a very remarkable Briton called Lewis Pugh. Have you heard of Lewis Pugh? He's a man who's able to control his own body temperature. He does endurance cold swimming. As far as we know, he's the only person known to science who can do what he can do. He can swim in cold conditions unlike anybody else, and he is able to raise his body temperature at will. It's completely startling. He can stop himself shivering. He is really an incredible figure, and we contacted him. And he said that he thought he could do this...
he's not coming in here because it's freezing.
He said he thought he could do this because he had trained himself, as it were, over years and years and years to do these endurance swims in incredibly cold waters. And that his body, as it were, saw it coming and prepared for it. That was his only explanation. But
cold water has a bad effect on a boy. I mean, he looks good there. I bet he doesn't fill his swimming trunks when he gets out.
Well, maybe that. How would you like to spend 2 weeks lying on a pile of parrotfish droppings covered in phenyl benzimidazole, sulfonic acid? Does that sound like a good...
Is that sun cream?
Oh, very good. Excellent. Excellent. So, that may not be such a bad thing after all.
So it's lying on a beach covered in sun cream?
Yes, most people would like it. But parrotfish droppings is a very special kind of beach, the kind we'd most like.
White sand?
White sand. Soft white Coral Island sand is parrotfish droppings. It's called a parrotfish because it has a beak, like a parrot's beak, and it scrapes away and eats at coral. And it excretes this white sand. And each fish will excrete over a ton of it in a year.
Good
And there are lots of them. And that builds up as the white soft sand that is the particularly prized sand of such a beautiful island as that, for example.
Each fish excretes a ton of...
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What? A single parrotfish like
it's
that?
Not, yeah. Every single day it's eating it. It's a ton a
It's
year.
eating? A ton of... Well, I suppose,
It's
you're
pushing
yeah.
out.
Constantly
So how much does
processing.
the average man excrete in a year? I don't know, I'm looking at you. Why would you know that?
I'm afraid I don't.
Your classical education has failed you.
Stephen knocked that up in an afternoon.
The average man will excrete the Isle of Sheppey.
By lunchtime.
And the sun cream? What's the maximum sun protection factor, the SPF you could...
50, isn't it?
50.
50.
What does it mean when it's SPF?
It means
50?
you can stay 50 times as long in the sun as you
really-
would do if you would say, for example, the sun was so hot you were going to burn in 1 minute.
Yeah.
If you put that on, you can stay 50 minutes.
Yes, that's right.
Or if
That's
you
the
put it
thing.
on in England, you could stay for a lifetime.
The notorious pirate Blackbeard has just given me a map. What does the X mark?
The spot.
If anything, I suppose he gave me, maybe it would be his signature because he probably can't write. Most pirates couldn't. The fact is, there is no case in history that anyone knows of pirates burying treasure and
Does it mean the whole...
drawing maps with X's on. It all comes from
Treasure Island.
Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. Why would a pirate want to bury treasure? I mean, you know, it should
Stop the other pirates getting it.
Yeah, but he's got to spend it. That's
No,
what
they can
do.
hardly go to Bradford and Bingley, can they? Oh, you're a chest full of doubloons and booty. Yes, would you like fixed term or extended interest?
Oh, God, I went to the Bradford and Bingley and got stuck behind a bloody pirate.
armchair. I got 20 Portuguese whores.
That's why they brought in those pens on the chains, because they couldn't get it with a hook. They'd be like that, and they couldn't. So they just hook the pen, it would go like that, and then he'd just do this.
Yeah, there are a lot of myths about pirates. There's no known pirate to have
Man's
a...
face is the colour of a strawberry. That's incredible.
What, you know who that is?
No, I don't.
Right, it's Robert...
Newton. Robert Newton, yeah. Who really invented pirate speak.
Yeah.
That, Jim Ladd.
That's
Robert
all
Newton.
from him.
In fact, Tony Hancock's career started as a Robert Newton impersonator. That's what Tony Hancock did. That was his act. There's an International Talk Like a Pirate Day, isn't there, in September?
Somalian.
Somalian?
I met a kid from Somalia.
Yeah?
He came up alongside me on his push bike. He said, "You is on TV, innit? You is on TV, innit?" And I said, yes, nice to see you. don't walk away, don't walk away. You've got to help me get into TV. And I said, OK, well, how do I get in? I said, well, you know, join your local drama group. I don't know what I said to him. He goes, I'm Somalian, but I can do Eritrean.
There may be a demand for that, you know, somewhere.
I said, I'll see what I can do. I'll speak to the producers of Jonathan Creek.
On that bombshell, pirates very rarely buried treasure. They preferred to spend it, and they never once used a map with an X on it to help them locate it. So, we're currently now, not giving too much away, in a studio in London. Where is the nearest piece of American soil to us here?
Grosvenor Square?
Is it? The fact is, most people wrongly think that you're right that the American embassy is in Grosvenor Square at the moment, though they're about to move it. But an embassy is not considered the sovereign soil of the nation whose embassy it is. It belongs to Britain, the soil there. It's not American soil. This is a myth, this idea that the moment you step foot, you're on American soil. They wanted to buy the lease. Who owns Grosvenor Square?
Duke of Westminster.
The Duke of Westminster. The Grosvenor family, yeah, the Duke of Westminster. And they asked for the freehold. And do you know what he said? He said, yes, if you give my family back the state of Virginia, which you confiscated from us, you can have that. So they decided not to.
Good work, Duke of Westminster. I like him already.
But there is American soil in Britain, and the nearest to us is in Surrey. It's a tiny area. It's a memorial. A place in Surrey famous for an extraordinary British event in the year 1215. Do you know what happened?
Signing of the Magna Carta.
Yes, I know where it is.
Runnymede. Runnymede.
Runnymede.
Yes. But what is the memorial in Runnymede?
There's a JFK memorial.
It's the memorial to John F. Kennedy.
I've been there. I've been there.
Yeah. And it's deliberately these sort of isometric, or whatever the word is, asymmetric steps, this slightly higgledy-piggledy, to suggest a journey of pilgrimage towards him. And it is officially American soil. What conclusion did the great biologist Stephen Jay Gould draw from a lifetime study of fish?
Oh.
Yeah.
They haven't got any legs.
Is that his lifetime study?
Yeah. Well, no. It wasn't his lifetime study of a fish.
Yeah.
After a while, they smell.
He's a bit thick, and he just stared at them and they haven't got any legs.
Starfish don't have brains. It's the kind of Louis Walsh of the aquatic world. They really don't have brains, they're starfish.
And they're not really fish, are they, starfish, to be honest?
Well, the word fish is in there, which kind of qualifies them, I think.
Well, is a starfish a fish? Is a jellyfish a fish? Is a cuttlefish a fish?
Yes,
I
believe
a horse.
But the starfish...
A crayfish is a lobster.
There's a division, isn't there, in the world, whether it should be down to sort of experts in biology, whether things are fish, or whether it should be down to menus.
Yes.
Certainly, for example, a crayfish comes under fish in a menu.
He looks like he's reading the sell-by date on that.
He does, doesn't he? Stephen Jay Gould was very great. He's dead now. He's very great. He won a Nobel Prize. He was a paleontologist and an extraordinary biologist. And he came to a conclusion which is...
They can feel no love.
No, that there is no such thing as a fish. A fish has no biological meaning. There is just...
Well, that's I'm absolutely right. Go with menus.
On a menu it does. But in a menu, a fish is not the same as shellfish or seafood, is it?
It often comes in the same bit and separate from pudding.
Things that live in the sea.
Fish and a pudding are different.
Yeah. How can something not be something? Something can't be not something, can it? But if you've created a something, then something has to be that something, otherwise you haven't created a something. So it has to be a fish. if there is the idea of a fish in the first place.
I swear there's a philosophy
Yeah.
somewhere.
Slow down, Plato.
There's some sort of ontological argument going there, and of course, to us, that we use the word fish. But biologically speaking, a salmon is more related to, say, a camel than it is to a hagfish. Like, there are lots of things that fly, like a bumblebee flies, a vulture flies, and there are flying lizards. They're not all birds.
No.
But we call things that swim in the sea fish, and actually, biologically, evolutionarily, they have absolutely nothing to do with each other at all. So, after a lifetime study of fish, biologist Stephen Jay Gould concluded that there's no such thing as a fish. But now it's time for a round of quick-fire hypotheticals.
Quickfire hypotheticals!
So, all you have to do is tell me the first thing that comes into your head, basically, all right? It's a quick-fire hypothetical question. Let's say you found a fallen tree in the forest, right? Obviously, it fell down before you arrived, but did it make a sound as it fell?
Ooh,
No.
No one's going to say yes.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, do you know where this question comes from, as it were?
It's a
Bishop
famous
Berkeley.
Bishop Berkeley, yeah.
philosophical question, isn't it?
That if there's no one to hear a sound,
Is there a sound?
is there a sound? It depends so much what you mean by sound, doesn't it?
Well, there isn't, because sound is the vibration of the eardrum. There is no sound
Is it?
if there's no one to hear it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it depends, though, because part of the definition of sound is that there has to be a recipient for the sound.
Yeah.
Doesn't there? There's the thing that makes the noise, and there's the transmission of the noise, and there's the reception of the noise.
Yeah.
But if there's no reception of the noise, then maybe the noise doesn't exist.
Other things are still vibrating, but whether that vibration counts as a sound or not is
But then the forest
That's the
ever
definition
empty.
of sound is what happens in the ear. There isn't any sound if there's no one to hear it.
It's a mooty point.
If there's a speed of
Yeah.
sound and it's only what happens in the ear, well, how do you get that speed between that and your ear? Maybe by the time that tree's fallen, you got there, that sound's halfway around the world and making someone else very nervous. Ah!
So, Stephen, are you sure about this?
Well, no one is sure. That is the point. That's why it's a hypothetical. No one knows. I mean, to a semanticist or a neurologist, they may say that sound is that, but to a physicist, they would say the propagation of sound waves is sound. Whether or not there is an ear to vibrate, it is a sound wave. And if it's a sound wave...
I disagree that they are sound waves, because if you go...
You may disagree, but you're welcome to. But you're not...
Vibrations, but they only become a sound wave when there's an ear to receive it. It's rather like... Do you remember we talked about a thing that really astonished me? Did you know that light's invisible? It's the most extraordinary thing. If you, in a dark vacuum, if you shoot a beam of light across the eyeballs like that, you can't see it. Because you can only see what light hits. And it's the same thing, but people said, but that's a stupid answer, because the definition of light is something that goes into your eye and is then received. Until it does that, it's not light.
But we have all kinds of things like not ears, for example. Are you saying that it's not sound if it registers on a recording device that is left there without a human there? That it's bending the needle of a recording device? Does the machine not hear? Is it not a sound wave that is actually causing the machine to register?
Well, but in Bishop Berkeley... So
I talked about you, not about Bishop Berkeley entering a field. The point is, it's not as simple as just to say yes or no. That's why it's a good question. It's a good question. We would have unfairly forfeited someone who said yes just as much as somebody who said
I thought
no.
you said there was no right answer to this question.
There is no... That's why I said there is. That's why it's a good question. There is no right answer. So your yes and your no are both... That's
whatever I said, it would be...
Yeah, I'm afraid
So
so.
if the tree fell down and there was no one there to see it fall, it should still be upright.
Very true.
My only conclusion.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, Alan, are you keeping well?
Yeah. Which of these birds would you trust to take home with you? I'm sorry. I should put that better. Which of these birds would you trust to take you home? You've been confusing me with your dirty talk.
So the question is a blind pigeon better than a one-eyed robin?
Yeah, or a particular one-eyed robin, because the one is a...
Vehicle reversing.
Yes, it's the pigeon. The pigeon you trust, because it follows magnetic lines. It doesn't need eyes for that. You're right. The pigeon could indeed take you home, but oddly enough, so could the robin on the right, the one whose left eye is covered. the one on the left, whose right eye is covered, couldn't navigate at all.
Because he's pissed.
No, because his right eye is covered.
Oh, right.
That's the weird thing. It's
So
a
was
really...
the left eye is just ornamental, is it?
No, it can see with it. This really is peculiar, but we know now that they use magnetism to navigate in their long journeys. You know this by the fact that you can disorient them, that's pigeons and robins and many others, by placing magnets near them, and they suddenly no longer know where to go. But they also need to see. That's to say, they're not just sensing it. They obviously see some magnetic flux in the way that we see light, colour, whatever. But the weird thing is they discovered, and gosh knows why they tried it, but that a robin, it's only its right eye that sees the magnetism. With its left eye covered, it can find its way using magnetism, but with its right eye covered, it can't.
So like an Apache helicopter pilot, they have to have the binocular rivalry, they call it.
Yes.
So you're saying that it would be physically impossible for a pigeon, a homing pigeon, to deliver a fridge magnet?
Yes. It's a shocker.
No wonder my business failed. Ridiculous.
You're right. It is a shocker.
What do they think? If the robin's right eye can see magnetism, and also
they think it's controlled in the left brain. Therefore.
So what's the left eye's special power?
Well, just seeing. It's just an ordinary seeing eye.
Or maybe it can see smells.
Maybe it can.
Like the sort of Bisto brown thing.
Yes.
You know, it can see deliciousness.
There's clearly more work to be done. What would happen if you threw a hippo in the deep end of your local swimming pool? It would sink.
Yeah.
In the winters, I live in Miami, and they all look like that. But they have lipstick on, so nobody would bat an eye.
No, they wouldn't.
They walk along the bottom. That's what they do.
That's exactly what they do. What hippos don't do is swim.
No, but it's not the first thing that would happen. The first thing that would happen would you'd get your swimming card revoked.
Yes.
That'd be the first thing.
But also, Ross, I think there'd be a huge sense of relief that you'd finally got rid of the hippo.
Yeah.
You'd got through the turnstiles with it, through the changing rooms, and then you think, oh, Christ, at least I've bloody done it. Oh, dear, the guy's here about this. Probably take the traffic cone off your head.
So this one would die because he's got floaties on, and actually they need...
That is a mistake. I mean, they can float and they can drop to the bottom, but what they can't do is swim.
Is do the backstroke.
Which is
Which is why that ident on BBC One, where they're all swimming around in a circle,
is all wrong.
factually incorrect.
Exactly, where they're doing a sort of doggy paddle, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of EastEnders isn't true either.
Really shocked us. How then do they get out of a river?
A small boy in pyjamas
Oh, yeah, that's
saves
true.
them.
No, they walk along the bottom or bounce and strike.
Oh, I know. They fill their lungs and float to the top.
Well, no,
I'm
actually,
just
they
using
just walk
logic.
to the shallow part.
Sometimes they carry a small thing of helium.
Yes,
And they put it in, and they get to the surface and then just keep going.
Well, they certainly can't use a ladder.
You said that with anger. Like, bloody hippos. Like, you've paid a few of them to do some decorating. And they were just sat around smoking. You went, can't even use a bloody ladder. I'm sick of it.
The fact is, they just walk up the shallow bit to get out onto land. How many teeth does a hippo have?
A full-grown one has 40. And the reason I know that's a fact is I got asked a question by my daughter the other day. Dad, how many teeth has a hippo got? And I went, let's go over to this little bit of equipment here.
Are you sure you didn't go, well, I tell you, but I just pushed my last one into a swimming pool?
I'm not only ever seen, when they do that, they always have that photo with their massive
That's
mouths open, and there's two at the top and two at the bottom.
No. It said that a full-grown hippo has 40, minimum of 40.
Is that Wikipedia?
No. No, it was hippoteeth.com.
It is the oldest trick in the book.
Is it an ancient Greek book?
It's even older.
Ooh. Egyptian?
Egyptian is the right answer.
I think I might have.
You might know
Is
this?
it about a man called Dedi?
Dedi? How do you know about Dedi? You're right.
He was a man who did the first magic trick, which was, I think, a decapitation of a goose.
You're right.
And tore it off and did it to impress the king. And it's in an ancient scroll.
It
which I
is?
do know the name of. I think I do.
Yeah, go on.
The Westcar Papyrus.
The Westcar Papyrus, this man is good.
I should say, you know, I have
Do they
had... Yes, they do. There is a
They
certain
teach
amount
this
of...
in ancient wizardry at
Yes,
Hogwarts.
they do,
don't
absolutely, yes. I mean, I don't want you to...
This is going to be a very short show.
Next question, come on. I'm not about the jokes, it's all about points for me.
It's all about points.
I
like this. What part of pulling a goose's head off is a trick?
Well, no, sorry, yes, and then restored it.
That's the point.
And he was
Oh, that's
doing,
the
sorry,
key
yes,
bit.
that's the
the
trick.
point. It's a
Oh, the
great-
old 2 geese in my bag trick.
He did a goose, as you rightly say, then he did a duck, and then he moved on to an ox, and he would wrench their heads off, and then they would be restored. But you may say, I want to see this trick. If this really exists, I want to see it. After 3, 2, 1, we go Accio Scott. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Accio Scott.
Whoa! Oh, my God! I believe you can do the deady trick that Dan told us about.
Yes,
Would you
indeed.
like to do it, please, with
Well,
your...
we'll give it a go with Norman. We just give him a little bit of a...
no.
There we go. Just pop his head back on. There he goes.
Brilliant. Fabulous. The sensational Scott Penrose, ladies and gentlemen. Once he conquered Everest, what did Edmund Hillary do for an encore?
He had a massive teeth off with Sherpa tensing. I can notice no other consequence. Although my teeth have grown. Look at my teeth. It's mine too, Edmund. Mine
Look
too.
at Look at this. Ready? Ready?
You do look like him.
Did he become a Welsh comedian?
No. Me or him?
Hey.
No, I do look a bit like him, actually, but you can't... There's not a lot you can do with it.
Not really.
You've got to do a Kiwi accent.
Yeah, I mean, I've climbed a few mountains in my time, sure I have, but it's not something I like to go on a bit. I'm struggling because...
These are going to work there, right?
Oh, sorry, I apologise. I apologise to any New Zealanders watching. He's trying to do the fish and chips.
The Australians, they don't say Elvis, they say Ilvis.
Ilvis, yeah. And I heard that New Zealanders are traditionally quite sort of puritanical, and it's quite hard for them even to say the word 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... Oh, I can't say it. 6. There's a famous graffiti that was seen in Melbourne, which was looks like a rugby score. It's Australia 6, New Zealand 7, which, of course, they would pronounce as Australia sucks, New Zealand's heaven. You see? Isn't that clever? Isn't that clever?
It doesn't really travel, does it?
No, it doesn't. No.
I should tell you, when this photograph was taken, I'll never forget it, we'd had a wonderful day, and I'd just said a lovely joke to my good friend there next to me, and as you can see, he was pissing himself laughing.
And his name was?
His name was Bert.
His name was?
Sherpa tensing.
Sherpa tensing Norgay.
Well, yes, but to his friends.
Isn't it cheating having somebody carry your luggage for you?
No. Now, which one of them got to the peak first?
Sherpa.
Tensing.
No.
No?
Hillary.
Edmund Hillary.
Edmund Hillary got there first. And not only that...
Were they racing?
No, they're not at all. They were friends. And Tenzing Norgay wrote in his autobiography that Hillary got to the top first, and that Hillary said, no, we tell everybody we got there together. Then the King of Nepal said in a rather angry statement, everybody knows that Sherpa Tenzing got there first, and Hillary didn't say a word. He didn't correct him. He was very noble about it.
Yes.
And he actually devoted most of his life to raising money for the Nepalese people. 25 schools, his charity, and very things. So he was a very good man. But what did he do after Everest?
He went to the bottom of the sea.
No.
Did he climb something else?
No, he didn't. Well, he sort of did, because it was in the Himalayas, but he went on an expedition.
He took an incredible challenge that tested the extremes of physical endurance.
Not really. It was a bit of a wild goose chase.
Was he looking for the Yeti?
He was looking for the Yeti. He went on a Yeti hunt. He concluded that the thing didn't exist, but this is him preparing, looking slightly less like Rob in that angle.
Who does he look like there? Edmund Hillary.
Edmund Hillary, basically, yeah.
He does look awkward. He does look like, yes, I am going to marry her because I love her.
I'm standing by her.
In that picture, I look more like the chap in the drawing, actually.
Does he really think that it existed? I mean,
He wanted to settle the matter, or at least to attempt to settle the matter, and of course they didn't find that one. But one thing that they discovered, of course, is this footprint business. And in shadows, a fox print is small, but as it gets into a sunny area, it gets elongated as it melts along. And a human footprint can go up to 21 inches, And that seems to be an explanation for some of the footprint stories. It's simply that.
They're like the crop circles of the Himalayas, aren't they?
Kind of are. On the other hand, to be fair, one of the members said we were probably too noisy because they didn't see a snow leopard, and we know snow leopards do exist. So it doesn't prove that they do.
Are you suggesting only an expedition that was fantastically quiet might find it?
Well, what I'm saying... yes, basically.
Lost their mobile signal. And hello, yeah, we're nearly at the top. You're breaking, I'm sorry.
We're looking for the Yeti!
Actually, ironically, you get fantastic mobile coverage when you're up high up mountains. If you ever go on a skiing holiday, you... Oh, good God, what's that?
An artist's impression of a thing that doesn't exist. That's what some people
Edmund
thought the
Hillary
Yeti might look like.
After looking for a Yeti for 20 years.
Some people thought that actually they were on a spying mission because two of the people that were with him were rocket experts and that they were spying on Chinese rocket installations in Tibet. Who knows?
What we think that might still... Some people now think that may have been what they were doing.
Yes, they still think that's actually what they were doing, yeah. So, there you are. That's basically the answer. He went to look for a Yeti after conquering Everest in '53. Edmund Hillary went in search of the abominable snowman. Perhaps you can tell me which side Yorkshire was on in the Wars of the Roses.
Well, there's the White Roses, Yorkshire.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the counties, though, is it? It's just the royal houses.
That's the point, exactly.
Oh,
Yorkshire has no more to do with the House of York
Yeah.
than Kent or Norfolk.
It's the Duke of York versus the Duke of Lancaster.
Yes, exactly. The point is, in fact, most people who lived in Yorkshire were Lancastrians. In fact, they favoured the Lancastrian cause.
But now,
Henry
of course,
VII, I mean.
people in Yorkshire very much associate with the White Rose and the Yorkists.
Well, because it's become the symbol of the county, and the cricket match between the two counties is known as the Roses match, and so on. But you're right. Talking of Yorkshire, there are other things that are called Yorkshire that aren't particularly Yorkshire. Can you think of one?
Pudding?
Yorkshire pudding is not a thing that was invented in Yorkshire, although people from Yorkshire are... Hello.
Oh, yes, this was really annoying. that Yorkshire, but that they're trying to say that, like, you can't make, champagne outside the Champagne region or Stilton outside a certain region, that you wouldn't be allowed to make something and call it a Yorkshire pudding outside Yorkshire, which is basically entirely an idea cooked up entirely by people who manufacture those horrible frozen Yorkshire puddings.
You're right to be angry. Yes, it's called a protected designation of origin, a PDO. And Champagne, as you rightly say, has it. Parma ham has it. You can't call it Parma ham unless it comes from Parma.
But making Yorkshire pudding one of those things would be like making a sandwich.
Yes, I know. You had to come from Sandwich in Kent.
Yeah, you had to go to Marks and Spencer's in Sandwich for the authentic sandwich.
Yeah. But give me some other British PDO protected foods.
There's one, I think that Stilton is one.
Stilton, where must it come from?
But it can't come, for example, from Stilton.
No, that's quite right.
The town of Stilton, which the cheese is named after. The cheese is named after it because that's where the cheese was sold, not where it was manufactured. Exactly. So the designated area that you make it in, with bits of Leicestershire, I don't know.
Yeah,
anyway, Stilton's not in it.
Mostly around the Melton Mowbray area.
What about pork pies then? Melton Mowbray pork pies?
I guess you can't call it a Melton Mowbray pork pie. I don't know if that's a PDO.
Do you know that the chairman of the Pork Pie Association is vegetarian?
I didn't know that.
Yes, I interviewed him and I said, because he brought pork pies for us to try, and I said, go on then, Tucky. And he said, oh, no, thanks very much, I'm vegetarian.
That's very peculiar.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Yes, what?
He's angry now.
No, I'm absolutely sure. What's this man done with his life? You can't, on the one hand, say it's wrong to eat animals and then dedicate your professional life to the marketing of ground-up pig.
Like...
You've got a point.
It's just a sort of pacifist nuclear weapons manufacturer.
But not all vegetarians are vegetarians because they don't agree with the slaughtering of animals. Some do it because they just don't like the taste.
Maybe he thought it was a job being chairman of Pork Pie Hats.
Yes. Or of lying.
Or of lying.
Yes, telling porkies.
He thought he's being a spy.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
I've got to tell porkies. I've got to tell pork pies.
I'm going to destroy the pork pie business from the inside.
Well, there you are. The fact is, the more Yorkshire folk supported the Lancastrians than the Yorkists. Imagine you're taking a hamster on holiday. How can you make sure it doesn't get jet lag? Yes, Ross.
Holiday in England.
That would do it.
Don't necessarily have to be in England. You just have to stay in the same time zone.
If they're in the cage and they're moving that way and the plane is moving that way, this isn't my area.
Yeah.
Doesn't it balance out in
what do you mean?
space and
The
time?
wheel is going one? No.
The wheel is going...
It doesn't quite work.
It's an
That's
idea.
a nice thought.
Is there an answer to this?
There is, yeah. I mean, they have experimented on hamsters and jet lag. They've not actually...
See, look how cute.
They are
you know what I
very
mean? It's a woman. I want to nurse it.
But you pay for it and you realise it does nothing. You watch these guinea pigs in G-Force, they are like fighting, climbing, firing guns, saving people. You go home and you see him sitting there, lazy, useless. You're just like a furry scrounger. You get out there
Can you
and
put
do
your
something.
head in a hole like that? I don't think so.
Yeah, but you've
And
overlooked
they
the
drop
fact-
pellets. They do a lot of things.
The thing is, Sean, he made that wooden thing.
I was visiting a friend's house, and on the upstairs landing, I had gone to the loo, and I came out, and it was a summer's day, and there was a big open window over the lawn, and there was a football, and I kicked the football through the window, and a child burst into tears, and it had a hamster in it. It was a hamster ball. I didn't know that. I'd never seen such a thing. There are these balls that you put hamsters in. It was terrible. It was shocking. It was actually fine. It was a little dizzy, but it wasn't dead.
Exhilarated, I thought.
Exhilarated.
Again. Someone's done it. No, take me back in. No. Ah.
It was most unfortunate. But, yeah, they do have...
melatonin. You give it melatonin.
It's not melatonin. It is a drug, and it's a rather surprising one. It's a common drug.
Marzipan?
Paracetamol.
Not temazepam, not paracetamol. I'm sure you haven't taken it. You're too young and virile. Viagra is the right answer. Viagra appears to recover from jet lag as long as it's eastward-bound jet lag. That's the weird thing. Jet lag's a lot worse when you're travelling east. It's a lot better when you're travelling west. So, for example, if you go to America, you recover better than when you come back home. It takes you longer to recover. Good. Excellent. Yes, jet-lagged hamsters can have their symptoms alleviated by giving them Viagra. It was a really horrible way of transporting smallpox vaccine.
Was it by Marty Feldman?
God bless him, I remember that scene so well, don't you?
Do you mean now, when are they transporting smallpox?
No, now you would transport smallpox...
You infect an animal, and then you transport the animal, and then you take...
You've got the right principle. It's actually not an animal, though.
People?
A rock. You infect a rock.
No, a human.
A volunteer prisoner.
A human child, an orphan.
An orphan?
Yeah.
It's got no one to tell.
Yeah. You go back to the early 19th century, vaccination has been discovered. We know about vaccination.
Cowpox.
Cowpox, exactly. Edward Jenner discovered that if you injected people with cowpox, they would be immune to smallpox. A smallpox which killed about 60 million people in the 18th century. It was a really terrible disease. Now, in about 1803, the King of Spain, whose son had died of smallpox, thought, we want to vaccinate everybody in South America. But how do you get the vaccine in a ship for months? You haven't got ice packs. You know, it's 1803. So you round up a few orphans and you inject one orphan with the vaccine and he develops the immunity and his blood is full of the antibodies and it's all great. So you take his blood and you put it in the next one and the next one until you've got a whole colony of orphans who are not harmed because they are immune to smallpox, but it means you can use them as a kind of serum, if you like. It's kind of creepy.
They're not harmed, but they're quite a long way away from home.
Yeah, that's the one trouble, is they find themselves in the middle of the jungle. The British, I'm afraid, we did it too. We did it with low-caste Indian boys. It's a pretty squalid thing to do, but it did work. It saved hundreds of thousands of lives, but, as you say, at the expense of some rather bewildered Spanish orphans.
Yeah, but presumably they weren't brought there and then summarily killed. No,
not killed, but they were just left there, presumably. I mean, they were orphans anyway, so you may say maybe they wouldn't have had that good a future in Spain in 1803. Yeah. So maybe their lives went well for them in South America. Who knows?
Too late now, anyway. Nothing we can do about it.
No, there isn't. You're right. Yeah. But we can we can think about them. We can give this little pause and
don't worry about
honour them.
It's gone.
Forget about it. Let's move on. So, what about smallpox today? Is it a worry?
Yes.
How so?
Because it's really the orphans.
You care so
the
much
orphans
about
of great dynasties who are coming back to attack us.
No. It came that close to being the very first disease that humankind completely got rid of, in the sense that there was not one vial or test tube left of it in the world. And then Then they thought again in about 2002 and said, well, maybe we don't really have the right actually to extinguish it from the face of evolution. So there is somewhere a tiny amount of it left.
Is there not a fear? Is it? I would have thought that they might keep it to develop a vaccine in the event that, I don't know, North Korea had kept hold of some smallpox.
Well, that's also possibly it. You're absolutely right. It may just be that they can't risk the possibility that somebody else has it, and that's human nature. But it's...
I'm sorry, this feels like we're in the opening scene of an apocalypse movie or something.
Yeah. Doesn't life often feel like
chatting about...
But don't worry, it's in this test tube. Nothing can...
And of course, it was so virulent in the 18th century, and people knew that it was contagious, that actually you were much more likely to get a job if you were pockmarked.
Because you'd actually had the
Because
disease.
it showed that you'd had it. So servants and things who were unblemished were unlikely to get a job because it's possible they would catch it and pass it on in the family. Anyway, smallpox vaccine was transported to the New World by successively infecting a series of small boys and then dumping them in South America when they weren't needed anymore. Queen is coming for tea. What should you do with your lavatory seat?
Cover it with money.
Wear it round your neck with pride.
No, I mean, there is a sort of rumour, a myth, an urban legend, a nonsense, a fallacy, that you have to get a new lavatory seat for the Queen's visit.
Yeah, super glue it.
Put cling film over the bowl.
Well, ow!
See if she can play. Why that pleases me so much, but it really does.
There was a rumour, but it's a nonsense that she had to, or that she carried her own calfskin one around, calfskin lavatory seat.
Wow.
But apparently Prince Charles did have his own. We'd given one as a present, and he liked it, so he used to carry it around.
Back. You say that Charlie's got his own seat and he goes round with it?
No, he was given it as a present, and he used to take it around as a sort of joke.
As a joke?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So, I mean,
Yeah.
the people who deal with royalty, you know, they do say, well, of course.
I know. Well,
and they would have bolted it on with a trice, wouldn't they?
They probably would.
No one would take the joke. Well, we've made 9 of them. I don't know what you do, how that works in a toilet. People powering the toilet.
Oh, hell.
Jet-powered toilets. Isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, no.
A royal flush.
Oh, yeah. You can be sucked out of a jet toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can get wedged in it.
Yeah.
You can create a vacuum.
If you create a vacuum, then the whole plane sucks in on itself.
Yeah, like Odd Job.
Yes.
Did he get? Well, Goldfinger himself gets
Goldfinger himself goes out the window, doesn't he?
But not out the loo.
Yeah.
Down the loo.
No, out to a hot. Isn't it funny how you just have to press the button and then you think, oh, I'll have to press it again because it didn't, and then whoa!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stand well back.
Yeah.
Don't leave your tie dangling over.
Yes, according to Buckingham Palace, the idea that the Queen requires a new lavatory seat is a complete myth. Though you might wonder, why did Julius Caesar wear a laurel wreath?
Was it because he was bald?
Yes, is the right answer. Absolutely right. He was very vain. According to Suetonius, his baldness was a disfigurement of which he was deeply ashamed, and so he chose the laurel wreath as one of the things he had a right to wear, and wore it all the time, which others wouldn't.
They said the laurel wreath is going to do wonders for you, Julius. What it's going to do is going to take attention away from the Now, they come in a variety of colours and styles. We're going to start you off with a very simple, traditional one.
He was also supposed to have invented the comb-over, because Suetonius also...
Invented the
Yeah, he combed his hair forward. I should quote you Suetonius in translation. He used to comb forward the scanty locks from the crown of his head, and of all the honours voted for him by the Senate and people, there was none which he received or made use of more gladly than the privilege of wearing a laurel wreath at all times.
It's going to look really
He must have
obvious.
looked like a 60s footballer who'd come through a hedge.
It'd be like leaving your Christmas cracker hat on all year.
What is the roundest thing in the universe? Yeah.
No, just saying.
Oh, no, not at all.
You should see it. No, the roundest thing in the universe.
Yeah.
Ball bearings.
Ball bearings are quite round, but
I
they...
swallowed a ball bearing.
The roundest... Dude. you mean smoothest, most...
Well, the most purely round, in other words. Because if you... Well...
The Earth is thingy, is it squashed? It's not round.
No, that's right, it's an oblate spheroid.
Oh, Nelly Furtado! He's got a word for everything.
Is it a liquid drop, a water drop?
They can get jolly round. They can be very round. Very nice. We're actually further out of space than Earth, beyond Earth. It's a cosmic phenomenon.
Is it a black hole?
It's that kind of a deal.
Oh, it's those space helmets, those big round space helmets with the things on the top.
Is it the thing called the genius point? Is it the point at to which everything goes to, ultimately?
Not that. It's when a supernova has a gravitational collapse, it turns into something called a neutron star.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, the neutron star.
They're really round.
That's not round!
No, that's not. That's a supernova, I think, Javi. That's a supernova. Going supernova.
Then show us the round thing!
He's very upset, aren't you?
Yes!
It only has a diameter of about 15 miles or so, and there isn't one near enough for you to be able to see it with the naked eye.
Have you ever noticed how we always have to take Stephen's word for it?
But what's interesting is that if I had a thimbleful of a neutron star, it would weigh more than a mountain.
Yeah, but you don't.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, imagine how confused the old woman darning your socks would be if you had a thimbleful of it. She was just trying to fix a hole, and and there's all space and time coming out with a thimble. That's no way to treat the elderly.
You're right.
So you put a thimble down and no one can pick it up?
No one at all.
And when you've got a good cleaning lady, you want to hang on to them. You don't want to mess it around. I'm leaving, Mr. D. Why? Well, because of all this space business with your thimbles. I don't like it.
It might have double the mass of the sun, but it's only 15 miles across, roughly. And the highest mountain on it weighs 5 millimetres, so it is superbly round.
highest
because
mountain is...
as opposed to the Earth, which, although the Earth is jolly round, apart from the flat bits at the top, the point about the Earth is it's actually jolly smooth compared to, say, a billiard ball.
Smoother than a ping-pong ball, isn't
Yes,
it?
now why is that a snooker ball...
I'm sorry, I did not know there would be a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Why is the Earth...
If you were to scale up a snooker ball to the size of the Earth, the mountains and trenches would be hugely greater than our highest mountains or deepest trenches, i.e. the little pits that you can see when you examine a snooker ball closely, if scaled up to the size of the Earth, would be gigantic. So the Earth, in that sense, is smoother. What are the advantages and disadvantages of guide horses for the blind?
Well, I'm going to say the obvious one is the fact that it could give you a lift. If you've got a guide dog, you have to walk with it. If you've got a guide horse, you'd be crazy not to climb on, wouldn't you?
Yeah. You are aware they exist, though. Did you know that?
I wasn't aware they existed.
I
can't
wasn't
imagine
aware.
it.
It's a nice surprise. You didn't know? No. They use these miniature horses as guide horses.
But hang on, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Other
Does a blind
horse-
person walking a Shetland pony?
It's smaller even than a Shetland pony.
Oh, okay, and even smaller. But is the blind person must be aware of the people whispering, "Oh God, somebody's nicked their dog."
You can see how small they are.
Oh, well, it's a falabella then. It's even smaller.
It's a exactly. It's very, very small. And there are many bigger dogs than that. Anyway, what are the advantages of a horse rather than a dog?
Well, the food's much nicer, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's nicer.
It's cooler, you know.
It's cooler.
It's cooler, you know. You got a falabella pony, for God's sake. You got a tiny miniature pony.
Well, it looks hard, doesn't
Bragging
it?
rights.
It could carry a shopping on its back.
Yeah, shopping on its back is
Carry it or pull a little trolley as well. They're quite good at hardy pulling
Some
animals.
people, not many, are allergic to dogs. I would say more people are allergic to horses,
I would have
but
thought
probably if you're allergic to dogs, you may not be allergic to horses.
It might not go and shag the leg of every passerby.
Very helpful.
If it does, though, it'd be more of a problem.
They do have very good memories as well, horses.
Do they?
Yeah, they do. Very good memories. And it's usually it's a panicky memory, connected with something that was genuinely painful or distressing for them, and they'd never forget it. It can be the smallest little...
So they would remember the way to the shops if they're particularly frightened by the way to the shops some time ago, and you could just go,
That would be
and the horse would immediately go to the shops.
That would indeed be a disadvantage. They're flight animals rather than pack animals,
Yeah,
and so they can spook. Another advantage, and it's a big one, is simply the relationship that you have with your animal is longer.
Because they live, what, 30 years or something?
20 or 30 years, as opposed to a dog, 8 to 12 years. So that's a very, very strong advantage. Another one is simply their stamina is greater than dogs, of course.
But can you house train a horse like a dog?
Oddly enough, you can. I mean, not as well as a dog, it must be said,
Occasional
but
accident.
pretty well. The disadvantages in restaurants tend to have a policy of no horses, or at least they don't
have a positive yes to horses policy. And also the other disadvantage, if you go into a bar or somewhere where a dog is welcome, the dog can curl up and go to sleep. Or go under the table. You won't get a horse.
Getting up on a horse.
I just got to do the black now.
Okay. You go home, I'm going to stay.
That would happen, I feel. They're slightly less able to blend into the background, shall we say. How does it work when a blind person with a guide dog wants to cross the road? Does the dog say when it's clear, as it were, and make the decision to cross the road?
I hope so.
You hope so. Well, oddly enough, it doesn't. It's the blind person who makes the decision.
And the dog keeps stopping him.
The dog has the ability, it's trained what's called selective disobedience or intelligent disobedience. The dog will overrule if it must, but otherwise it's up to the master or mistress, as it were, to initiate it. And it's all done through the feeling of the harness. So when the dog gets to the other end, it puts its paws up on the curb, which alters the angle of the harness. And these blank £2 coins. Just try and draw the Queen's head as she is on the coin.
The Queen's head on the...
Yeah.
Oh, OK.
Is she wearing a crown? Is she, you know, just... But an outline.
Which way does she look? No one knows.
No, don't ask for help. Alan Davies, I'm going to take points away if you cheat.
How do you think I got through school? How do you ask for help?
Is everyone done?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
She looks like Lenny Henry on mine, unfortunately.
Well, that's all right.
OK, done.
OK, when Alan's done... OK, all of you all hold them up.
Mine looks like a triceratops.
And let's have a look at yours. There. And you're extraordinary. The point is, you've all, especially Bill somehow, you've all made the fundamental error that everybody makes in thinking she faces left. She faces right. You've done that.
You said left.
Yeah, because most people think that.
Sorry, it's too late now.
88% of people think the Queen faces left on her coins. 88%. On every coin that ever was stamped since she was Queen, it's always faced the right.
Never
always.
for help.
Do they take it in turns? So
yes,
did her father face the other
alternate.
way?
Yes.
And Prince Charles?
Yes.
Should he be
straight on? He's full on with the ears like
they
that.
alternate. They've alternated since Charles II.
But does she not face the other way on the paper money?
No, on the stamp.
On the stamp. Right.
That's it's one theory.
Whoa!
One theory as to why 88% of people seem to think she faces left is because she does on the definitive edition of the stamps, which we can see here. We're all familiar with that image. But on the other hand, that's true in Denmark. Queen Margrethe, they also think she faces left, but on the stamp she looks out. And on the coin, she looks to the right.
Wow.
But if you ask a Dane which way she faces on their coins, they will say, as most of us would, left. It's something to do probably with right-handedness. We just picture a profile that way. It's really strange, but because we handle these things every day, unless you're Giles, when you have someone to do it for you. But it's bizarre that we just don't notice, isn't it?
So that's all coins.
All coins with the Queen's head on.
And how long has that been?
Since the beginning of
time.
the throne. No, it alternates between monarchs. So her father faced left.
Oh, I see.
And his father, George V, not counting because the abdication was a wrinkle, but George VI.
So if you could get all the coins of all the monarchs together, or alternating monarchs, and just you could flick through them, they'd be doing...
It would. It would be like a tennis match. How many real friends do you have?
Just one, James Taylor.
What a friend you have in him. Yeah.
I've
Moving
got to
on.
4.
4 friends you've counted, have you?
Well, actually, I'm not sure about him. Because he once spiked my drinks and stole my trousers when I was...
No, you can definitely cross him out.
He's coming off the list, yeah.
Which did he do first?
Drinks first, Phil.
I don't know, maybe he's agile.
Good friend. You say that a friend will help you, a friend will come over to your house and help you move, and a good friend will help you move a body.
That's good.
I have 2 good friends.
Oh, Rich! Oh, that's disturbing. There is this thing called a Dunbar number. Does that mean anything?
Yeah, it's about 100 and something.
You're right. There was a
120
professor
or
of evolutionary anthropology at Oxford University called Dunbar who calculated, if the calculation is the right word, that we can't have more than 150 friends. And obviously, some of us have a very high doctrine of friends.
150?
Yeah. He defines it this way.
I don't even know 150 people.
It's a network. It's a network.
I was going to say 5.
Right, well, I know what you mean. But he defines this friendly network as containing the people you wouldn't feel embarrassed to join at the bar in the transit lounge of Hong Kong Airport at 3 a.m.
Oh, no, thousands of them.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been embarrassed to join anyone at a bar in my life.
Yeah. It's a peculiar definition.
That is, yeah.
It's an odd one. But on the other hand,
there's something about this particular transit lounge.
I don't know. But 150 does turn out to be quite a special number amongst peoples and groups. It's the average size of traditional hunter-gatherer communities, small religious groups such as the Amish, and the average English village size at the time of the Doomsday Book. It also occurs all over the modern world. It's the number of Christmas cards the average person sends, apparently. 130? 150. The size of a company in all modern armies is 150, as opposed to battalion or platoon. And it's also close to the average number of friends people have on Facebook, which is 130-odd. So it is strangely... It seems to be the number beyond which it's too many, and any less than that is a closer friend. But it's also... When we say friend, we mean someone, as you say...
We like.
Who'll bury a body for you. Yeah. Facebook. Are you all on Facebook? No?
I don't really go on the computer.
I read a prediction the other day that said that at the current rate, in 10 years' time, 1 in 3 marriages in America will be people who met online. It's already 1 in 8. It's amazing, isn't it?
Oh, God.
Is that bad?
Well, you just fill out a lot of forms, don't you? Here's everything I like.
Oh, no, they don't necessarily meet on dating sites. Well, some of them will be, I agree, but...
How else do you meet if you're not on a dating site, though?
Join a group.
You join a group.
Yeah, you join a Facebook group with like-minded people.
Oh, right.
They send you witty remarks.
And which are the most
eventually, you send them a photograph of your genitals.
Yes. You know... Whoa. Well, Alan, that's the most popular so far, the genitals.
The genitals.
Of the genitals.
So it's just like a normal courtship, then, but
yeah,
done digitally.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel quite bad, you know, for the Amish in this situation because, you know, they're not going to meet people on Facebook, are they? Unless we create an Amish Facebook where you just write everything you know about yourself on a sheet of paper and put it in a barrel in the middle of the village. People can just dip in and out of, you know.
It's true, because they don't have electricity.
Raised the barn today, lol.
Regularly smuggled into the USA from Canada for the traditional Burns Night celebrations.
Oh, what do they have at Burns Night celebrations? Haggises?
Is the right answer.
Thank you.
We thought you might be tempted to say whiskey, but this is from 1989 up until 2010. Haggises were smuggled from Canada into America. Why might this be?
Because the Americans don't approve of inedible food coming.
Delish.
Well, why I can't say.
It's one element
Is there a bit of
inside
it?
the haggis that was contraband. There it is. What's the outer casing?
Stomach.
A sheep's stomach. And inside is...
It's called pluck. Pluck is the correct word for the bits of the heart. Is it the heart, liver and...
Offal, certainly, bits of that, but one particular... Lungs, which is known as, in the butcher's trade, as the lights. And those were outlawed in America because of BSE and, indeed, their own problems.
Yes.
You couldn't eat them. And so there was a trade in smuggled Canadian haggis. What do we know about the haggis? Which nation invented the haggis?
I wonder if we're not responsible.
You think it might be Danes?
It might be.
Well, actually, the first reference to it in the British Isles is actually in Lancashire. But there are lots of theories about where the haggis came from.
Offal comes from Danish. It is from the Danish word for rubbish. Affal is...
really?
yeah, so there must be some hideous Scandinavian connection.
Well, there are some who think that it was Vikings who brought it over to Britain.
But it comes from Lancashire, does it?
Well, that's the first reference to it, yeah.
Do you know the Burns address to the haggis?
Yes, it's a poem.
It's a poem which on Burns night, at a Burns supper, somebody would address it, and it comes in, that's obviously been cut open, as you can see.
Yeah.
But before it's cut, someone addresses it, and it starts with, "Fair fa your honest sonsy face, great chieftain of the Puddin race, aboon them all you take your place, pains triper therm, wheeler you wordy o' grace as lang's my erm." And a pal of mine was saying...
Bravo,
Thank you. But and then it was being typed in. But somebody I know was doing a Burns supper abroad, and they had sent the address over to Germany, and it was translated into German, but the German translated it back, and the line, instead of great chieftain of the pudding race, was translated back as mighty Führer of the sausage people.
That should stay. It's a lot better than Great Chieftain of the Pudding Race. Mighty Führer of the Sausage People. What is the date of Burns Night?
January
25th.
Yes, it's his birthday. I love the way you get all your celebrations in one corner of the year, so that being Scottish, you have, like, Christmas, craziness, and then Hogmanay, insanity, Burns Night 3 weeks later, and then for the rest of the year, nothing. Just a long hangover. Abstinence, dourness. But there is no poet, really, that has the same level of affection in the English culture. We obviously venerate Shakespeare in different ways, and some people resent him because of school, but there's a deep level of love for Burns, is there not?
Absolutely. I mean, he was a great man and very forward-thinking. He was completely and utterly anti-slave trade.
Yes.
So much so that if you go to the Burns Museum, there's a photograph of Muhammad Ali, who came over to Scotland and came up and visited it because he was a student of Burns because of the humanitarian work that he had done, you know,
and he was
150
fond of
years ago. Yeah, and he loves haggis.
I remember...
love all you sausage people, he used to say.
How would you collect the snot from a sneezing humpback?
Is mucus our word of the day?
No. It's
they
just
sneeze through their blowhole.
They don't sneeze, actually. They can't sneeze. But they breathe out. It's actually, when you see a humpback whale breathing out, it is breath. It contains mucus.
So who collects it?
Well, they're a scientist interested in monitoring the health of a humpback. Why is it important to see whether humpbacks have got colds or flu?
Because a sick one, you can push it towards the Japanese.
No, because...
No, because then they go, oh, we'll have that one, knock off Earl.
No, because, like birds, like pigs, they get flu that jumps species to man. And if that flu jumps to us, which is possible...
That'd be a nightmare, because...
It's a whole new genetic code for us to...
Whale flu. Well, not just that. Think of the waiting room at the doctor's. You'd be squashed against the wall like that, and he'd be there.
When you get bird flu, you don't get all small and grow wings. It's not... To get a flu is not the same as to turn into the animal.
No, but what I'm saying is, if that humpback whale has got the flu and he's taken up all the chairs...
Oh, is he right?
All the pensioners and me are pressed against the wall...
Well, we're going to have to encourage the whales to ring NHS Direct and not...
Yes, that's right.
The only trouble with that is NHS Direct pick up the phone and they think it's a fax machine. It's true. Wrong number again, and he's there just going, I'm really ill. They won't let me come down the doctors because they take up too much room. And I keep knocking the posters off the wall with me barnacle arse.
If I can just guide you away for a moment towards the snot, how do you collect it?
With a bag over its head, like an ordinary bag from Greggs or any...
It's quite...
In fact, it has to be
you put
from
pepper
Greggs.
in it.
It has to be.
You put pepper in the hole.
It started... Aceveda Whitehouse, her name was, Karina Aceveda Whitehouse, who was a researcher who's very much a specialist. And she used to have a petri dish on the end of a long stick and try and get it through the plume, but it's just too difficult. There's too much turbulent water. She couldn't get
She swims next to it and waits for it to sneeze?
That's what she originally did, but what does she do now? She's got a really good system.
Big condom over the top of the hole.
A remote control toy helicopter that flies there.
Oh, my God.
There it is, collecting. Isn't that perfect?
Collecting it.
I mean, if you're going to be a scientist specialising in collecting snot, at least...
Has she come up with anything? I mean, you know, now that she has the collection...
Good data on the transmission of flu between humpback whales, which is jolly difficult because they travel more than any other, 5,000 miles a year, routinely.
Trying to get away from the remote control, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
probably.
Terrifying.
I wouldn't fancy being the bloke that works in her local toy shop either. Oh, it's broken again, is it? Yeah, I've got all mucus in there.
So, people who do research into whale flu collect snot using remote-controlled toy helicopters. Why are there so many lavatories in the Pentagon?
One each.
One each. Do you know how many people work in the Pentagon?
Thousands.
23,000.
Whoa.
There aren't 23,000 lavatories, so no, I'm afraid it's a really ghastly reason. Where is it?
Virginia.
Virginia. Virginia was a southern state, and it had laws. And those laws...
racial segregation.
Segregation. It was a law that you had to have one lavatory for white people and one for black people. So there were double the number. I'm afraid it's true. It's a horrible truth. It shouldn't have happened because it was built in the 40s under the presidency of FDR, who had specifically outlawed racial segregation in federal, because he couldn't legislate for the states, but he could at least say that no federal building. And so when he arrived for his first inspection, was told that he was furious that there were all these lavatories.
Well, it's not very PC, that's true, but have you ever been for a queue in the ladies' loo?
So it's nice for you that there are so many...
Yes, in a way.
You
but
racist.
No.
No. They didn't actually go through with it. I mean, although they built them all for that reason, they were banned from using it and they were never racially...
And look at all the tennis courts they've got as well.
Well, it's vast. That centre bit alone, just to give you a sense of the scale, is 5 acres. Just the middle bit. 17.5 miles of corridor and these 284 lavatories. 6 separate zip codes. Just the Pentagon. But apparently it takes only 7 minutes to walk from one place to another.
Only one cleaner they have.
Yes, poor darling. Who succeeded Harold as King of England in 1066?
Is there a trick to it?
No, it's just you need to name the person who succeeded Harold as king in 1066.
No, was it the
Don't
bastard?
trust him.
The trick is to know. The trick is to know the answer.
I don't trust you at all.
Is it the bastard then?
Who's the bastard? Oh dear. Oh, it was not a trick.
Did England cease to exist in some way, or was it changed in name?
There was another Saxon claimant who was nominally king for 45 seconds or something.
Well, for a few months.
Right.
Yes. Edgar Atheling. And he was 15 years old. But Saxon kings were... How did you become a king if you were Saxon?
Did you have to be sort of
You had to be
nominated?
from one of the 5 or 6 families, and then you'd be elected. Yeah.
It's like the
By what? By votes? They
Yes.
would vote for you?
Yes. Edgar the Atheling. He was 15 years old, but of course William had won the battle, and so he came after him and he tried to fight. He couldn't raise an army, he went abroad, didn't really live
Well,
a
he's
very
15,
successful life.
so he wouldn't have been able to do anything, would he, really?
Edgar the Atheling was proclaimed king by the English after the death of Harold and reigned for 2 months before William was crowned.
Which of these men here, the 2 men you see, well, 3 in fact, which one just held up a stagecoach, used bad language in front of a lady, drinks whiskey, and chases people from right to left?
The one with the black hat.
Is the right answer. So what is the history of this? Why do you think?
I don't know. Just is that it then? Black hats for bad guys and white hats for good guys.
And unshaven, and there's even a direction they cross the
I
street.
just remember being a kid, and every Saturday night, usually there'd be a Western on BBC.
Yep.
And my dad would helpfully point out, that's the bad guy there. The one who's going...
In the 50s, it was 8 out of 10 of the top 10 programmes on prime time national American television were Westerns. The only 2 that weren't were comedies. It's just extraordinary.
It carried on. We grew up with Alias Smith and Jones and Champion the Wonder Horse.
Yes.
It was a bit of a letdown, Champion the Wonder Horse, because it was a great title sequence.
Champion the Wonder Horse.
That's kind of all he did, really.
In the end, he's a horse.
If it cut to Champion bringing a blind person shopping, that was a significantly better show than what he did.
He never used it in much more than knock a door down by kicking it. That was sort of his...
That was kind of his thing,
shtick.
like.
Had they known, they'd just put one of these on his top lip and he's useless. Come on, Champion! Oh, God,
But it's really practical, partly because you've got a small black and white television in those days, with not necessarily the high res that we expect in our digital age. And so you can just see the black hat and the white hat, and you know who's... And there are lots of chases, who's riding after whom. You instantly know which is the goodie and the baddie. And also, the right-to-left business is quite crucial, that the baddie goes this way, which in screen terms is... right to left, right, and the goodie goes left to right, which means his gun is favoured, is facing the camera. Well, this is useless for anybody under the age of 50 who has no idea what we're talking about. It's a peculiar, elderly nostalgia show on Westerns.
But any of these surely have all the plethora of channels. There could just be one Western channel just with these old programmes going on all day.
That's true.
Casey Jones I'd like to have on. Champion of the Wonder Horse.
Yep.
Alias Smith and Jones. Just on a...
You could just call it... Be a channel called Alan.
Alan. There's Dave. Why not Alan?
It's perfect.
That's a much better channel.
Just all the things that you like.
Yeah. And it wouldn't have bloody QI on all
Yeah.
Horse operas, they're sometimes called, aren't they, Westerns? But do you know what insiders call them in Hollywood?
No.
Oters.
Oats.
Oters, as in horses eating oats, I guess. They're known as oters. Yeah. So, yes, horse operas come and go. They may be simple, but at least you know where you stand. Who might use a left-handed motorbike? Oh.
Funny outfit I've got on.
Yeah, do you remember wearing that?
No. I remember that motorbike ride, though. It was exhilarating.
Is it one-armed men?
No. I mean, I guess they would have a use for it. But there was a real market for left-handed.
By which you mean throttle on the left?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Was it something to do with needing your right hand free for holding a gun, or...?
Yes!
I don't know, guess.
Spot on, holding a gun.
Yeah.
Like,
Where can I get one of these motorbikes?
They turned the company that made them, the Indian Motorcycle Company, Motocycle, in fact, they call themselves. There they are, the Indians. It's an American motorcycle company. Between the wars, they were the largest motorcycle company in the world. And part of it was because they sold so many of these left-handed bikes to...
Cowboys.
To cowboys? Was
The
it?
police.
Oh, the police.
Police all over America. So the police could drive and accelerate and decelerate and kill people with guns at the same time.
Why didn't they just fix a bayonet on the front?
That would be...
In fact, I'm thinking of getting one of those for my motorbikes for cyclists.
Really?
Yeah.
A bayonet?
Not to stab them or anything, just to get cheeky. Just a cheeky little...
It may not need to be a bayonet, then.
Well, if you can use a bayonet, then use a bayonet.
I mean,
That's what I think.
It could be something else, like a
broom handle.
Cucumber or something. You don't need a right... If you've just got a bloke in your sidecar with a Tommy gun, you're fine.
I know, unfortunately, that was the only photograph we could find. I've got some left-handed things here, some of which you can see the point of. This is a left-handed sort of biro or pen. It's a rather peculiar, it's a shape, though.
It makes me feel slightly sick looking at it.
It's strange. I think the idea is you don't...
But don't they
so you
say
don't
that-
smudge.
Like left-handed people are like naturally evil. That's what they say, isn't it? That's a well-known fact. Those pens do all they write just like "I will kill again, I will kill again." That's all you can write with it.
Possessed pen, the left-handed pen, is it?
It's really hard to write with.
This is a left-handed... Do you want to try that? Try it with your right hand.
It's just going to drive me crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if any left-handed people in the audience have ever found that pencil sharpeners are a real bore for in a right-handed world.
That has already annoyed me.
Well, that's how a left-handed person would feel.
Last thing you want to do.
With ours, then.
Well, they should have just adapted when they were younger. What's wrong with having a stutter?
It's not a condition, being left-handed. It's
You
not
really-
an illness.
Well, you say that.
No, left-handed scissors, of course, are quite well known.
Oh, don't give a left-hander scissors.
They
They'll
used to
stab you in the face. Stab you in the face as soon as look at you.
It's where the word sinister comes from, isn't it? Isn't that right?
Sinister, indeed, is the Latin for left, yeah. If you're ambisinistrous, what does that mean?
Left-handed and left-footed.
It kind of means you're crap with both hands. Ambidextrous is you're good with both hands. Ambisinistrous are people just can't write with either hand. But this will annoy you then. A left-handed can opener. There you see. But then just assume that all left-handed people are just as annoyed by right-handed things.
But just
they're a minority,
assume-
so they should be punished.
At least they're warned, you see. One of those could turn up in your kitchen with no warning.
Yeah, you would
turn up in the morning. You
The only thing that could annoy Jack more now is if he opens that can and it's all left-handed peaches.
Just imagine. Well, thank you. You can give them back there, because I can see they've upset you.
There is a left-handed shop where you can buy all these things, and my sister is left-handed, and I actually thought one Christmas I will buy her something, you know, there'll be a thoughtful thing. I thought, there's a shot, go straight, bang, right into it, and of course the door opened on the other side.
1 million British horses were sent to the First World War front. What happened to the ones that survived?
They settled in the south of France, opened a caravan park.
Of course, they couldn't learn the language, ended up moving back.
Well, that's what they didn't do, is move back.
Did the French eat them?
Well, lots of people ate them. Probably they were turned into food or they were rendered into products. Yeah, the point is, 1 million horses is a heck of a lot, but almost none made it back home. They thought...
some did, because in Warhorse he did.
Yes.
He came back. He did come back.
1 million horses went to the First World War?
From Britain, yeah.
That's extraordinary. I mean, if you think about just the logistics of getting 1 million horses across the Channel, I mean, they're not all David Williams.
No, exactly. According to Michael Morpurgo, who wrote that book, Warhorse, you just mentioned, 8 to 10 million horses died in the First World War. And they didn't have a nice time of it, even if they did survive, because they were just... They thought they'd be diseased when they came back as well, so they just didn't want them. So it was a very sad chapter in our story.
Yeah.
It's a bummer, isn't it? I've silenced you.
It's like when they play the Black Beauty music, I just start crying. Well, you know the bit where Ginger dies? It's really, really sad.
You know what? They call him Ginger.
So I would have that music at my funeral, definitely. Black Beauty music.
It's a deal.
You.
I'll arrange it.
It's a deal. Yeah.
Thanks.
We'll make sure it happens.
Good. So how fast is that coffin going to be moving? Quite a lick, by the sounds of things.
One of the most popular ones to have now with the coffin going on is the countdown theme. Like that.
It is bizarre the way people go crazy for horses, though. I remember being, like, in primary school. It was the first time I saw anyone... And it did a really weird thing. It really stuck in my head. And there was a little girl in our primary school class. We were, like, 6 years old. And she was just in floods of tears. Just crying, bawling her eyes out. And we kind of went, what's the matter? And she went, I just love horses so much.
Is that how you were?
I don't see why that's strange. I had to write one of those, you know, they sometimes ask you to write things for, you know, your first love. Genuinely, my first love was Frank, and he was a pony. Who wasn't very handsome. He had brown ears and a spotty neck and a really bad sweet itch, so his mane just kind of stood up in sections. And my mother always said, if you could love Frank, then everything in the world would always be beautiful, because you thought he was beautiful. And I did.
Oh, that's so touching.
He was lovely. He understood me.
There's a whole...
He did understand me.
Why little girls, little boys don't care about ponies? I know families who move because the girl, you know, for the sake of, you know, having more space so that maybe they can get a horse.
Well, we were emotionally mature a little earlier.
Yeah.
About 50 years earlier.
I would never move for a child's hobby. You know, I can see it like John go, but I love ponies. Yeah, well, I like this house, my own house. When you pay for the mortgage, you can stick a pony in every room, right?
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
All right, what are you asking?
Not your dad, all right?
All right. Thank you. So, yes, the fact is very few horses sadly made it home from the front. If they weren't killed in action, they were likely to be fed to prisoners or turned into fertilizer. What animals did the Carthaginian general Hannibal use to defeat King Eumenes of Pergamon in 184 BC?
Elephant.
No. He used to defeat who? King Eumenes of Pergamon.
Right. Him.
Him, there he is.
Is he defeated?
Horses,
not
tigers,
horses.
Lions, leopards, mice.
Bacteria.
Snakes.
Snakes.
Put lots of snakes
Not
in earthenware
really.
jars.
I don't think of that as an animal, really.
Well, put them in earthenware pots, threw them at the enemy onto their ships.
Really?
Yeah.
What a great idea.
Snakes on a plane was almost the first example of it. How did Snakes on a Plane come about? Do you know?
Snakes on a plane?
Yes, the film.
People had more money than sense and...
Maybe. No, supposedly it was a group of scriptwriters sitting around trying to think up the stupidest name, really? like a pub game, and someone said, Snakes on a Plane, and they said, you know, that's so crap, it's good.
It would be scary to be on a plane with lots of snakes, though. I mean...
Yes, it would.
I like the film. Is it quite scary?
The key would be whether the mechanism, the plot that leads to the snakes being on the plane is believable or not.
Well, they get out of a thing in a hole.
Oh, well, that sounds all right to me.
Yes.
And they're snakes, so they can get through tiny
They come
gaps.
up the loo.
Whoa!
They might well do.
Ooh, anyway, yes. Hannibal defeated the Pergamese by bombing them with pots full of snakes.